I am Fred Henry. Today is March 6th, and yesterday I went to the multi-skit anti-oppression thingy bob. Yeah. Anyway, so when I was watching the plays, every one of them kind of gave me this sort of deep response. It was aggressive response because the oppressors just made me very angry. But what are you doing? And anyway, oh yeah, probably one of the ones probably the one that made me the angriest was Rick from Lesbians and Liquor, just because you don't act that way. No. Anyway, during the interactive portion, I didn't really have any great ideas for the one with the immigrant coming in because honestly, the only thing that I could really think of to do would be to let basically what ended up happening in the original, which is let her ask her questions because she obviously had them. So let her ask her questions and just have meet and just deal with the guy in the back. Which it would not have really resolved anything, and it was the original. So I didn't really have anything to input into that one. And then we ended up doing the same scenario with the person in the back trying to help out the immigrant and reason with the oppressor like 3 or 4 times. I mean, it was done once really well, resolving all the situations pretty good, and it could have easily later led to a change with the oppressor, depending on other factors that might have happened. And then we proceeded to continue trying to force a change there under the pressure of having a long line, which was just not right. It was just, there's a time to go into the logistics of things, and there's a time to step out and wait for later. And when you have a long line, it's the time for the latter, and the former just makes everyone upset. I didn't get to see most of the resolutions for Lesbians and Liquor because we spent so long on the Sweet Land of the Oppressed that I had to leave after we barely even got into it. I had an idea, but I had to be the first one to go. I wanted the play to reach that point again, just because that way it was fresh in everyone's mind, everything that was going on, and it could flow naturally instead of suddenly randomly jumping into the middle, or technically the end. But anyway, that part's irrelevant. I had an idea that I had employed before with my friends when we get into topics that are difficult to resolve. Unfortunately, I didn't get to act upon it because someone else took the only time allotted, the only really time slot that I could have, despite the fact that he was going to be there for the next however long it took, hour, whatever, because he was one of the students of the class. That made me a little bit grumpy because I actually had an idea for this one. I actually thought that I could do something there, and I didn't get to. I didn't get to practice at all. Despite knowing what I was going to do. So, that kind of, yeah, sucked.
Should he relate what the idea was?
No. Because on paper it sounds like a horrendous idea. But like I said, I've done this with my friends before, and believe it or not, it actually works. Alright, I might as well relate the idea. Now, before you completely shut it out at the beginning, note, this idea actually has worked in the past. It's all on how you play it. The simplest solution I could think of was that instead of handing him the whiskey, dump it on his head. Now that sounds like a horrendous idea on paper, I know. But the thing is that it changes the issue. it disassociates the entire issue from the person being oppressed. It forces movement, allowing me to place the people further apart, dissolving their conflict because now they're no longer around each other. It grants the bartender more opportunities to pacify people instead of just making them more aggressive. Because although immediately there'd be a very aggressive reaction to suddenly having whiskey dumped on your head, after cleaning it up, when I could send him to the bathroom to clean up, I could clean up the stool and have a whiskey waiting for him when he got back, and tell him whatever, and not make it half off or whatever, and not charge him for the one that I spilled. But the trick is to immediately change the situation, in a way that forces change. I can't just look at a screen and say that something's a bad call in a sports game that's on, because they're probably not going to pay attention. You need to force them to pay attention to you. And that's the fastest way. And then, afterward, move the person being oppressed down the bar, away from both oppressors. And calmly apologize for their actions, and for spilling whiskey, any whiskey that might have hit her, and give her a free drink. It sounds like a horrible idea, but like I said, it has worked. As long as you play it right. If you dump the whiskey on their head, and they're just like, oops, clumsy me, you're gonna get punched in the face. So, the trick is to be sincerely apologetic, even though you're faking it. Don't let them know the second part. And you can actually dissolve situations like this, because a lot of the time, these are not situations that can be resolved immediately. Most of the time, they need to be resolved over long periods of time, because there is some reason why they're like this. Like, in Sweet Land of the Oppressed, the original TSA agent, there's some reason he doesn't like immigrants. I don't know what it is. I don't care what it is. There's some reason that he's got. And this reason is not going to go away in one day. It's going to go away over time. Maybe. It might go away over time if he's pushed in the right direction every now and then. Ditto with the guy in the bar. He's got some reason he acts like this. Maybe he's a little drunk, he'll be better in the morning. Maybe he's had a bad day and really wants to make it a good day. I don't know. He's got something going on besides her. As far as Cindy, she's just a bitch, and they're everywhere. So, I don't really know what Cindy's problem was, and again, I don't care. She had some sort of issue. Maybe she was feeling same-sex tendencies and trying to fight them. Who knows what's up with her? The thing is, she's having a hostile reaction. Get her away. He's having a passive-aggressive reaction. Get him away. And easier than moving two people, especially one who's locked to a bar phone, is to move the one who's most mobile. And you just get them out. And I think I'm repeating myself. Mm-hmm. Because I'm a broken record. Broken record. Broken record. No, I'm not. I'm sorry, I'm a dude. Anyway! Yeah. It would have been nice to be able to actually show my idea, because the weird part is, although it sounds like it doesn't work...
I'm sorry.
It does work. As long as you don't do it incorrectly.
Yeah, I told everybody I'd made it. I told your daughter.
So yeah. That's,
I got here at 4:30.
About what I got to say.
Okay, I figured
so,
that.
Yeah. Once again, I'm Fred. And that's kind of my experience.
I wanted to warn you that Carol and Melissa...
So, I'm going with that you felt mildly oppressed by the fact that you didn't get to...
her dressed in kind
mildly,
of
yeah, because
dress
it was really disappointing, because I had an idea. She'd been told that I had an idea. I stated that I just wanted it to progress, the play to progress
like
back to that
wrenches.
point. So I'd stated when I was going to do it.
I'm gonna see.
And everything,
we have
but
to go get some fabric for.
So everyone knew that I had an idea, and I got cut off in the only time allotment that I had,
Well,
which was incredibly disappointing.
yeah.
Because this is a technique that you need to practice a lot, because if you don't, you're going to mess it up.
I think we can do it pretty easy.
The first time I attempted something like this, boy did I mess it up.
Okay. Alrighty.
I
just want
don't
to
remember
warn
what
you
was
so
going
that
on,
they can.
but I do
when
remember
they
that
talk
it
to you,
went very
have
bad.
some idea of what they're talking about.
The
Tell them we're working
original
on it.
situation went away,
Just let it go at that.
but
okay?
I had a couple people angry with me.
Okay, but I'm here safe and
So
I mean, very
it's a
good time.
technique that needs to be practiced a lot.
In spite of the
Just
fact
like
I got lost.
everything else. You want to get good at something, you gotta practice it.
No.
And
don't
I didn't
worry.
get to practice.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I didn't get to share
I love you too.
what little
Talk to you
wisdom
later.
I have with the other people who were
Bye-bye.
there. Now, maybe it's not the best
She
technique
just
for
got
everyone,
home
but
from her
it's
belly dance.
a useful technique, and one that is very handy in certain circumstances.
Come on.
Especially if you're dealing with kids,
Now keep
or
charging.
people in bars, or people arguing politics or religion, or
Have
whatever.
somebody tell me. Don't
Those difficult to
do it
resolve
like
situations,
that.
the only way to do
Apparently
it...
Some guy fried half his face.
Holy crap. The only way to really do it is to, in fact, change the situation so it's no longer about whatever the argument's about. Because otherwise, you won't. If you just try and jump in arguing about the argument, you're just going to make it worse. No matter whose side you pick. Not even if you try and come in as a neutral person. I know, I have been the neutral person. You just get a three-way argument going on because the two people on the ends are angry that you're not taking a side. And if you take a side, then you are alienating another one, and if you don't take a side, then you're just getting beat up, and it ends up a three-way. It just gets... They're nasty. They're very nasty. So you need to have this ability to, when you're presented with this... I'm repeating myself again, but it's important. When you're presented with those situations, you need to be able to change the situation in a way that gets their attention, makes them forget about the original, and makes an issue that's easier to clean up. Like spilling whiskey, or... I don't know. there are a myriad of options, but you need to change it to something that's easy to resolve, as opposed to just trying to force a resolution to something that's harder. The easy one will go. The harder one will go away if you solve the easy one in the right way. And yeah, that's it.